Today's speakers. Joey Lockhart has served in the disaster response industry for over 14 years. He's with Cotton Commercial USA. He was a client for the first 11 years of his career, and then he was able to become a part of the Cotton family in 2014. Good job, Joey. Mr. Lockhart currently serves on Cotton's business development team, helping clients across the country with their different needs. So he came in specifically today in Austin to do our webinar for us. He is joined by Hunter Hicks, who is the Austin account manager who joined Cotton in 2019 as a member of the business development team in Houston. He's based in Austin, Texas, and he is responsible for identifying opportunities to help clients mitigate problems with business interruption while minimizing possible emergencies. So, all of you are familiar with Hunter. He's been very involved with A-Fame since he's been around, and we're lucky to have him. So without further ado, we will get today's program started.
Thank you very much, Amy. We will reiterate the fact that we're very happy to be a part of this, extremely appreciative of the opportunity to talk to everybody. Like everybody, we typically want to be face-to-face with you so that we can smile, laugh, talk, answer questions, and do what we all are hoping to do, again, sooner than later. Today we're going to be talking about really three different main parts of COVID-19, specifically getting back into your building, different policies and different procedures to effectively and safely get back into your building. If you can see on this page that we're on right now, we're going to be talking about terminology. Terminology is a very, very important part of response, knowing what, knowing how, and knowing what exactly your tenants, your clients, your ownership groups need to happen. Making sure that the terminology is correct and efficient is extremely important. Different steps to prepare your workplace. Every workplace is different, though a lot of them are similar. We can have open office spaces, we can have warehouse, we can have manufacturing, and all those fall into those certain categories, but every single space is different. One of the things that we like to accomplish, and that I know a lot of other contractors like Cotton like to accomplish, is coming out and seeing these workspaces and defining site-specific scopes for you in the response. And then lastly, discussing safety and different reentry processes. So as we go to the next slide that they're on right now, to really break down again the different cleaning processes and applications that you can use. I start off using the word cleaning because that's what a lot of people say right now. We rewind to pre-COVID-19 response. You can think of cleaning as what your standard janitorial companies were doing. In respect to those janitorial companies, a lot of them have advanced their procedures and they are following some of these other guidelines that we're going to get into. But cleaning is more just coming in and doing a wipe down, getting dirt, dust, any kind of debris off of your horizontal surfaces. Very, very standard, and again, not accomplishing the specific needs that COVID-19 response requires. It can be done. It might be what some of y'all are doing right now as buildings are unoccupied and tenants are not in their spaces. But as we get into the more serious response of reopening America, reopening Austin, cleaning is not going to do what you need to be done, quite frankly. Next level is sanitizing. You hear people throw this word around a lot. This is a step up from cleaning. Sanitizing is where you are using your CDC, EPA approved cleaning agents. Those are hot words right now that everybody is letting roll off the tongue. CDC, EPA approved, and sanitizing does encompass that and can help accomplish getting the office area safer. But again, we're talking specifically COVID-19 response, and sanitizing really isn't where you want to be for the safety of your tenants and your ownership groups and everybody that's involved with your property. The word to use is disinfecting. You are going to see this on multiple pieces of literature that are getting pushed out, whether that be social media, whether that be from your partners in the industry. But disinfecting is the terminology that you need to use when you are responding to COVID-19. These different disinfecting agents, they come in, and the difference between them and just cleaning and sanitizing is that they actually attack the viruses that cause COVID-19. Viruses and bacteria, again, two totally different terminologies that you need to be familiar with. Bacteria is not COVID-19. COVID-19 is a virus. So you need to have these disinfecting agents to help attack that virus, attack those antibodies that are a part of this virus, and actually kill them so that you are reopening and reoccupying into a safe place. Whenever we're doing cleaning, there's really two different types of cleaning that occur. You have what we're calling a cautionary cleaning. That's maybe we're doing this before you re-enter your building or during reoccupying, and also, of course, after you start letting tenants back into your building. This is something where there's not a confirmed case of COVID-19. You're wiping down your horizontal surfaces. You are, and this can be in the form of a hands-on approach. This can be, I know a lot of people are hearing about electrostatic fogging, electrostatic spraying, and different fogging mechanisms that can be used. That all this is done outside of a confirmed case of COVID-19. Very effective. It does provide safety for you, your tenants, your ownership groups, everybody that's going to be coming in and out of your properties. Very, very, very effective in doing this, but totally different than if we have a confirmed case. Okay, we have a confirmed case. Well, I'm going to stop real quick and go back to the cautionary. You're still going to see people in PPE as we've been doing some of these cautionary cleans where people are in the buildings. Yeah, they see guys in masks and suits and gloves, and they get scared that, oh, well, there's somebody sick in here, and the answer is very clearly no. This is in your communication, in your specific communication with people that are working in or around your building. But those are just proper safety measures that everybody should be taking, regardless on if it's a confirmed case or just a cautionary clean. We get into these required confirmed case cleanings. Everything does step up, if you will. The different ownership groups are asking for different requirements of contractors like ourselves. They probably, most that I have seen, especially at the beginning of the COVID-19 response, not as much now as we're, call it 7 to 8 weeks in to this response, and everybody continues to get more educated, as Amy said at the beginning of this. But they might require a certified industrial hygienist to write protocols for that building. This will detail out different PPE that needs to be worn, if there's any containments that they want to set up. This isn't happening as much now, again, because everybody has continued to get educated as new information comes out daily. It seems like hourly sometimes, but it is still a possibility that's out there. So you need to know, again, going back to terminology, need to be familiar with what the difference is between precautionary cleans and then if we do have a confirmed case clean. As we move in to working and opening up your properties, a number of different steps need to be looked at. What is the current makeup of your office space? Have you already worked with your team as far as everybody knows the term social distancing, 6 feet, spreading your workplace apart? Are these things that you're discussing with your team, with your ownership, with your clients, with your tenants on how they plan to proceed? I have some clients that we're open Monday the 18th. open the doors, let everybody in. That's one way that this can happen. We have some clients that they are doing the staggered approach of, well, we're going to open 25%. The next week we'll do 50%, 75, 100, so on and so forth. We have some that have decided to do the Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday approach. All of these are effective. All of these can happen, but of course there's different levels of safety and requirements that need to happen beforehand when discussing this. If you're just opening up the doors, what are you susceptible to? Having people come in that are, I guess you're susceptible to it in all three stages, but you're more susceptible to it if you're just opening up the doors and letting people in to having someone that is infected coming into your workplace. That changes the whole gambit of what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to accomplish the ultimate goal is safety and having a safe workspace so that people can get back to their standard lifestyles that we were just living 2 or 3 months ago. We don't like using the term new normal. We're trying to find more positives in this, and I don't think the new normal is the most positive words to use, but this is something that we're having to deal with across the country, across the world. We're having to deal with this, and safety still needs to stay paramount. The way that you achieve safety is communication, action plans, knowing exactly what needs to happen with your potential building. There's some people on this call that have multiple properties. Each of those properties is going to have a different plan that needs to be discussed and activated. As I said at the very beginning of this, and I'm pretty sure that I can speak for nearly every company that lives in the same world that Cotton lives in, let us come out and help you make those plans. Webinars are hard. Zoom meetings, they're great for this. They're great for being able to connect in a technology-driven world. But let's get specific on what your properties need, so again that we are achieving the ultimate safety measures. What are you going to do to prepare this workspace? What do they look like right now? Do you have desks upon desks upon desks? Do you have are you going to plan to spread those out? Can your tenants afford to do that? There, again, multiple questions that come into preparing the actual office space that you need to get answered. We've all seen it at the grocery stores, gas stations, the plastic shield that people have in between the employees and the guests that come into those areas. Is this something that we need to help with? That can be difficult when you're in a very active office space, but there are office spaces that is very easy to set up and achieve. And again, all your contractors, I imagine, would be more than happy to help you accomplish that. As we discussed, there's different phases in your approach to letting the employees come back in. I understand that some people on this call, they are not the decision maker in that. That's why I keep on saying ownerships, tenants, and making sure that clear communication is happening with them. But y'all still need to be enforcers of that. Some of these tenants they're not able to get on these webinars that AFAME is allowing everybody to do so they can get educated. They might not be watching any of the news sources. They might not know. So it is all of our jobs to help let them become more educated on what these policies and procedures need to do so that, again, the ultimate goal of safety is achieved. A lot of people are wondering about setting up signs, setting up different notifications across the office, whether that be electronically whenever you get into the office or whether that be different signs that are staged around the office space. All of this is important. Right now, we have to, I believe, over-exaggerate our response so that it is clear and concise, and people are listening and people are taking this serious. I'm ready to open up everything, but also understand the matters of safety and making sure that me just wanting to get things open back up does not put somebody else, whether it be my clients or my clients' clients, in harm. It's not smart. So we, as in contractors as us and everybody else that is on this call, need to be enforcers of this, whether you are the ultimate decision maker or not. We still all have a voice and we still all have a say in getting this put together. I'm sure there's a number of contractors on here that can help make the decision and help facilitate needs as far as if you're going to be setting up hand sanitizer stands. Do you need wall mounted? Do you need stands that are just set throughout the office area? All those are questions that could be easily answered, but again, might seem minuscule right now, but need to be a part of your plan as we are getting closer and closer to the reopening of America. I'm going to go back to every office space being a little different. There's some tenants, they might occupy the full space. There's some tenants, they might occupy half a floor, full floor, 3 or 4 floors. We're lucky now that we're living this right now, the age of technology and security, that being able to track and know what are the important and dire need spaces in a workplace, so that we're making sure that those spaces are a part of our plan. We can track all this with the security and with technology that typically every building has these days. What are the high traffic points? Do you have gyms in your building? Are you allowing those to stay open? Are you shutting down, if you have a break room, are you shutting down break room activity? I have some clients that they're even shutting down certain restrooms inside their properties across the country just because they don't want all the traffic that involves and the different germs and everything that can be associated with that. Again, there's a full plan that needs to be set, that can also be changed tomorrow. COVID-19, as we said at the beginning of this, we learn something new every day, if not every hour. So your plan needs to be flexible as a sense of maintaining your sanity. Go in knowing that this plan is probably going to change, so that whenever it does change, you don't have tenants, ownership groups worrying about what plan B is going to be. I'll say it again, that I'm sure there are a number of contractors on here right now that are able and more than willing and happy to help make those plans A through Z, whatever you end up needing to accomplish. The ultimate goal is opening back America, right? We are in a stage where there's still so many unknowns of that, that we will continue to be in that stage. But achieving that ultimate goal, the only way to do it is safely, educating yourselves, having webinars such as this that AFAME puts together and that some of you could do with your teams internally. And when I say team, I don't just mean the ones that wear your brand. I mean any and everybody that is involved with your specific properties. But start making those plans. It's important. It is right around the corner, and we are going to be dealing with this for the unforeseen future. So communicating, making sure that we're using the right terminology when we are communicating. What are those exact needs? Are you just wanting, has nobody been in your building, so you just want to come and do a quick cleaning of wiping down and dusting, and or do you need the full disinfection so that you can safely come in and know that your property is okay for your tenants to again occupy? As far as response, honestly, it's kind of cut and dry. Either we have a confirmed case where we need to come in and potentially have these protocols and we're doing the disinfecting in that route, or we don't. We are just sanitizing and disinfecting your property to make sure that it is safe enough for your tenants to come back in. It's really cut and dry. However, again, every site is different. Every site needs to be specific in its response. And AFAM is full of great contractors that can help you make those plans. Webinars are a little different. We typically like engaging and going back and forth with Q&A. So I don't know if we've had any questions come through the Q&A yet, but happy to answer, happy to get a little more specific on your building and your specific questions. And then again, you can see, I believe, as everybody knows, our presentation has been shared, so there are some more specifics within that presentation as well. But as of right now, I believe I'm going to turn it over to questions, and I do see one question coming up. Once we disinfect the space building, what can we do to help prevent recontamination? So how do you prevent decontamination? Different measures that you can do with outside sources of there are a number of companies that can help with the screening process of letting people back into your building, whether that be temperature checks. There's different cotton, even when we come to any offices that we have across the country, we have screening questionnaires that we have to answer, even if you've been there every single day. That again, just help track, measure where you've been, what you've been doing, and so on and so forth. Now, if you don't have those measures set up and somebody comes in and is sick, then as we've all probably heard by now, that it decontaminates your building. I mean, it recontaminates your building. And we have to pretty much start all over with cleaning and decontaminating of the building. As I mentioned earlier, with the different security and technology that a lot of people have in their office spaces now, we have been much more effective than I thought we would be able to, of tracking where those people go and not having to shut down an entire office space because one person came in. We're able to track where that person went and set up and do any kinds of
Joe, do you mind if I chime in?
Not at all.
I think it's pretty clear, regardless of the efforts and processes that you go through to disinfect your building prior to reentry, as soon as people do enter, whether it's 1 or 10 or 100, you face risk of recontamination, which goes back. I like to use example from Asian Pacific countries that are currently reopening. That's why they're not going back full throttle and throwing everyone back in there. They like to do it step by step. Studies are already showing that it's more likely to prevent recontamination by going stage by stage.
So I'm gonna move on to the next question. Are any specific recommendations being considered for parking garages and elevators? I'll answer this in 2 different ways. I'll go with elevators first. It is the same procedures as we would a standard office building. And I'm actually going to answer 2 questions. One of the next question is any sanitizing or disinfecting chemicals for safe cleaning on the brass elevator metal. Cotton uses a product called Benefect, that is BENEFECT, and we're happy to send you all of the documents discussing Benefect. But when you're dealing with an elevator, it is still going to be your standard application, whether that be the electrostatic spraying or whether that be a hands-on approach. Elevators are one of the most commonly used area by different personnel in a building for obvious reasons. So we have some of our clients, we are cleaning just bathrooms, just common entry areas, and just elevators every hour. Some of them are set up for once in the morning, once at lunch, and once at the end of the day. But elevators are one of the most touched spaces by multiple different people in an office area. The second part of that was parking garages. So COVID-19 is not an airborne virus. Parking garages can get a little tricky, if you will, in response, because yes, you do have You do have people in there. You are going to have the parking garage elevators potentially. You are going to have the stairwells that have the high touch point areas, but an actual open parking garage can be cleaned. Is it need to technically be the priority in your building? My suggestion would be no. Of course, if you or your ownership, I mean, we'll do it. And there's a lot of people on this call that we will do it. But specifically speaking, COVID-19 not being an airborne virus, I would not have that on my radar, the actual parking garage, as much as I would parking garage elevators and stairwells. Is there a guarantee, next question, is there a guarantee for a 90-day from date of application, as some have indicated? Okay, so I'm gonna go back to making sure that we're using the correct terminology. Terminology is extremely, extremely key in this response. You've got coronavirus, which is clearly a virus. Now, just like flu, there are different strands of the coronavirus. We have seen some reports for coronavirus that there are some applications that people claim 30, 60, 90 days. However, for COVID-19, which is what we are discussing and is what is affecting the world right now, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, but we have not seen any proven science that COVID-19, that there's an application out there for COVID-19 to secure an area for 30, 60, 90 days. If that science comes out, we will gladly jump on it. We'll investigate it. We'll educate ourselves on it. But right now, again, going back to terminology and making sure that what you are seeing is correct, you've got coronavirus, which is multiple strands, but you have the COVID-19 strand of coronavirus, which currently right now there does not seem to be any science that proves an application that will protect from that from 30, 60 to 90 days. UV lights, what are our thoughts about using UV lights as part of the disinfection process in our medical facilities that we're working in? We are using some UV lights. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not as educated on that application as some people are, but my thoughts and in my discussions with our medical healthcare clients is yes, it works, but again, we come back down to being specific to COVID-19, and is it really the application that people want to use? I will answer that by saying I shouldn't say most, but a number of my healthcare clients that started off with UV are now moving to the electrostatic spraying and more of a hands-on approach. There's some of this COVID-19 that yeah, you've got your documents and you've got your specifics, but it's also making sure that people are sane in their minds and that they're comfortable with what's going on. And a lot of people want to see hands-on. They want to see a person in a suit doing the electrostatic spraying. They hear about UV, and that just doesn't make them comfortable. And that seems to be what I am hearing more often than not on the UV spraying. We see another question on here on COVID not being airborne. All signs right now show that COVID-19 is not airborne. And then you get on to, you've got some other stats to show how long it lasts on different surfaces. The standard lifespan that we're showing right now for COVID-19, whether that be on any kind of different surfaces, wood, brass, metal. It seems that none of the lifespan of COVID-19 is longer than 72 to 96 hours. And then again, as far as airborne, I should specify a little bit on that. Of course, the 6 feet distance, social distancing. I'm glad that Mr. Ball corrected me on that. 6 feet social distancing, because if you are coughing on somebody, of course, that is going to be airborne and hit you. But as long as you are practicing the social distancing and the 6 feet measures, going back to the parking garage example, then you should be okay.
Let's save this one for the last, just because it's kind of unrelated to COVID.
See one on how long does electrostatic disinfecting last? So let's say a virus is in your office at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. You come and do the electrostatic spraying, and you attack and kill that virus. The virus is dead, and that area is clean and safe until potential recontamination from somebody coming in that has been around the virus. It is as long as the virus is dead, the virus is dead. And then that is when you get into the, okay, well, what are the steps that we're going to have for people re-entering my building so that I can keep that virus dead? There is, again, going back to proven to science that we are showing that on how long these applications last, there's no shield, if you will, on, well, this is here for 1 day, 3 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90. It is, if you had a virus, you come in, you disinfect and you kill that virus, then you should be clean and clear to continue occupying that workspace as long as all of your reentry tests and screenings are stay positive or stay negative, and nobody comes in and gets sick. Good question. You mentioned that some folks may feel better if they actually see somebody cleaning. Do you recommend putting up signage after a space has been disinfected? We are doing that in a number of our workspaces, that this has been disinfected by whatever contractor you choose to do the disinfecting for you. And again, that's just makes people feel better about the situation. That is a big part of COVID-19 response. Though we have our technical dealings that need to happen, a big part of the response is making sure that people just feel safe, plain and simple. So that is not a bad idea, and that is something that we are actively doing after we do come in and clean this place. Is we will put up a sign for however long the client wants us to put it up, saying that this area has been disinfected.
But to that, you need to be clear that recontamination is always possible. The next day, someone could be sick and walk in and recontaminate that space. So.
Restrooms, best practices for disinfectant cleaning and the frequency, as well as any recommendations or ideas on,
You got it.
well, restrooms.
Yeah.
Restrooms is one of the ones that we are cleaning very frequently in our clients' buildings. I have some where in the healthcare world where I literally have people there all day and somebody goes to the restroom and then we go in and clean it. We have some clients where they want us there, like I said earlier, morning, lunch, and end of day. And then we have some that, hey, please come clean and typically with our restrooms, we're actually tying in the elevators as well. It's a similar process. But where we could be there, coming in every 2 hours. But again, that ties down to doing a site-specific visit, discussing what is your real tenants and clients' patterns and needs, and then generating a scope specific to that. Because we are literally doing it. If somebody goes in and uses the restroom, we then go in and clean, and it's closed for 5 minutes, or we're doing it 3 times a day or hourly as well. If my buildings have been vacant and all HVAC systems shut down, are there additional considerations that should be considered? Great question. That is part of the reoccupy process. Some of these buildings have been completely shut down, as you are well aware. Nobody has been actively working in them. Some of these buildings have had a select group of personnel that have been going into these properties on maybe a daily basis, but probably not as consistent basis. So a lot of the engineers on this call, y'all know better than anybody what can happen to a vacant building. There could have been a leak somewhere that got behind a wall. Now we've got an environmental issue. You need to worry about any kind of stagnant water that has been sitting in an area that could become an issue. Any pipes that haven't been typically flushed as they are on your standard day-to-day basis. All of these different mechanical, basically I would do a full gamut on your MEPs before you start fully reoccupying this building. We've already experienced from some other clients opening their properties that as soon as they turn back on the water, or at least activate all of their water sources, that you know where I'm going with this. Something broke and popped, and then we have secondary damage. We have a number of clients that maybe they had their water sources going, but nobody's been occupying the building. As I've already mentioned, you could have areas that have been receiving moisture, and then you have the secondary environmental problems that can occur from that. So I would check all of any and everything that has to deal with MEP. I would spend a good couple of few days running the gambit on those and making sure that everything is up to speed and up to the requirements of your building.
Yeah, general recommission.
I don't see any other questions coming through, unless Amy, if you have seen any, or if you want to add any questions, we're happy to answer them.
We just had one question posted. Will electrostatic spray help disinfect ductwork through the return?
Okay, so we have been doing that also. Not as common, but the good thing about electrostatic spraying is that it can be used typically in any form or fashion, any kind of application that you need in your office. It is not going to damage any of your ductwork. It's not going to damage electronics. It is certified and good for any and all that. I believe you just had something recently here, if you want to touch on that also.
Well, it goes back to the tenant's present, comfort level being there, seeing work being done, and feeling comfortable to go to work day in, day out. If you actually wanted to clean your HVAC system and ductwork, I personally would recommend getting an HVAC vendor that can actually clean your system rather than electrostatic spraying over what is probably a dirty system. To me, it goes back to the presence of mind more so than actually having a tangible effect on your systems.
That's again kind of another one of those just checkpoints of, all right, well, do I just want to electrostatic spray my HVAC? Well, let's check the HVAC. If your building's been sitting for this entire time, there could be other buildup on that. Another important thing to talk about in your properties is, do you have a kitchen that is, as full business dining? And I'm not talking as much about, we have a break room on the 19th floor. I mean, actual kitchen cafeteria areas where grease traps have not been cleaned out. We are encouraging all of our clients to do full, deep, detailed cleaning, whether that is in accordance with COVID-19 response, but also is just typical deep cleaning. Yeah, I mean, we've all experienced the grease trap problems. It's fire hazards. It can clog, and then you've got Cat 3 water damages. And all it's been doing is just sitting there and collecting grease, and that grease not being handled appropriately. So those are just another checkpoint that you want to look to if you do have a full-fledged cafeteria in your property.
And I guess last thing, when you're recommissioning your property and going through all these things, these are a lot of things we've seen personally within our industry, but there's many other industries that are you need to check as well, as far as your fire suppression systems, security. Has there been any break-ins? There's a lot of vendors that can help you with these different verticals and whatnot that you may be looking for.
How long does it take to another question, how long does it take to disinfect a typical office? Time per square feet. So pardon me. I will give you an example of, let's call it 10,000 square feet between the processes of labor coming in to do the disinfecting, and then the cure time of the cleaning agent, and then letting people back in. 10,000 square feet, we are typically asking to have 4 to 6 hours for that entire process to happen. For us to do the spraying and cleaning that we sanitize, whether we're doing spraying, cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting, you name it, 10,000 square feet, we're typically asking for that 4 to 6 hour time frame to let everything that's beginning to end.
All right, this will be our last question.
Okay, last question. With the electrostatic spray, how long before you can open up a break room for food and drink prep? Again, that's once we are done doing that application, that 4 to 6 hours. You are typically, a lot of times we are doing this after hours or on the weekends also, so that we are not incumbent or interrupting current open job spaces. You're good to go that next morning. If we are doing it during the day, then we are asking tenants just to give it about an hour after we leave, and then you're able to get back in and get back to standard day-to-day life.
We do have a couple of other questions on there. Those of you who still have questions, we do need to wrap up this webinar. These are good questions, though, so we don't want to discount these questions. So you will see on the screen Hunter's contact info so that you can reach out to him and ask additional questions as needed. We will be sure to share this contact info with the attendees afterwards. We will wrap this up for now. Again, there will be a recorded version of this available afterwards. For those of you on the call, we hope you have a good day. Please stay safe, sanitize, disinfect, all the key words, and we hope to see you in the real world soon. Have a good day.
Thank you again.